Let me tell you a story. My name is Birbal, and I served as chief minister to the great Emperor Akbar. And well, this is the story of how I had to deal with a court full of jealous rivals and one very, very tricky question from the emperor himself. So my afternoon had been perfectly peaceful. That is, until my door practically flew off its hinges. Suddenly, my home is just filled with this frantic crowd of men, all talking over each other, panicked. And looking at these incredibly powerful men just absolutely terrified, I had to ask, hey, why are you talking as if someone wants to kill you? You have to understand, these weren't just anybody. No, these were the most powerful, most influential ministers in Emperor Akbar's entire empire. And seeing them basically on their knees in my home, I knew right away that something had gone very, very wrong back at court. Okay, so once I finally got them to calm down a bit, the whole story just came pouring out. And it wasn't just a story, it was a plea, one born of absolute, pure desperation. Turns out, the emperor had given them this impossible riddle, and they had to solve it by sunset, today. If they failed, 3 months suspension with no salary. So they were backed into a corner, pleading with me. We'll do anything you say, just please save us. And right then and there, I knew I had their complete and total attention. Now, to really get why they were in such a state, we've got to rewind a bit, back to that morning in the emperor's court. The funny thing is, the whole mess started because, well, I wasn't even there. See, with me out of the picture for the day, all that jealousy the other ministers had been holding in just bubbled right to the surface. One of them actually had the nerve to stand up and tell the emperor that they were all every bit as smart as I was. Very, very dangerous thing to say. Now, Emperor Akbar, he's no fool. He could see their envy plain as day. So instead of just telling them they were wrong, he decided to have a little fun. He decided to call their bluff with a clever challenge of his own. Really, it was a trap designed to teach them a lesson they wouldn't soon forget. And this was his trap. A question that sounds so simple, but has no easy answer. He looked at the whole court and asked, "Tell me, what's the biggest thing in this world?" And he gave them until evening to figure it out. And of course, he laid out the stakes. If they succeeded, their opinions would finally be given priority over mine. But if they failed, 3 months suspension, no pay. And with all their pride on the line, they foolishly walked right into it. Of course, they couldn't find an answer. I mean, they argued for hours and hours, each one trying to prove he was smarter than the next. But as the sun started to get lower in the sky, that's when the panic set in. And they had to face a pretty humiliating truth. The one person who could save them was the very man they'd just been bad-mouthing. And that brings us right back to my house. And as I'm listening to their story, I realize this isn't just about a silly riddle. Oh no. The emperor was playing a much, much deeper game. I knew the answer the emperor wanted wasn't an object, not a mountain or an ocean. He was testing their character. And in their complete desperation, they had just handed me the perfect way to give them a very practical lesson in humility. So I told them my price. Not gold, not land, no. I wanted a performance. I told them 4 of them would have to carry my chariot, with me in it. Another would carry my shawl, another my slippers, and one would have to shower me with flowers the entire way to the court. They were so desperate, they agreed immediately. Not a single hesitation. And just like that, the strangest, most bizarre procession our city had ever seen got underway. My plan was officially in motion. You see, the lesson had already begun. Oh, the irony was just delicious. These powerful, prideful men, who literally that morning had claimed they were better than me, were now parading through the streets acting as my personal servants. Every single step they took was a step closer to understanding the real answer to the emperor's question. When our strange little parade finally arrived at the court, Emperor Akbar's reaction was exactly what I'd expected. He was completely and utterly bewildered. He demanded to know what on earth was going on. The stage was set. It was perfect. I stepped down from the chariot, gave a deep bow, and announced, "This is the answer to your question, Your Majesty." The ministers were all looking around totally confused, but I could see a little spark in the emperor's eye. He was starting to get it. So what is the biggest thing in the world? It's not a mountain, It's not the sky. It's something you can't see, something you can't measure. It's need. Need is infinite. And it has the power to make anyone, even the most powerful men, do things they never imagined they would. I then turned to the ministers who were my living, breathing proof. I laid it out for them, plain and simple. Just yesterday, you couldn't stand the sight of me. But today, because you needed me to save your salaries, you carried me here on your own shoulders. Their own actions were the answer. There was no denying it. And you could just see the realization hit them. They couldn't argue, they couldn't debate. They had lived the answer themselves. And as they stood there, heads bowed down in shame, the emperor just burst all laughing, absolutely delighted by how the whole thing had played out. And the lesson here? Well, it's just as true now as it was then. Never let jealousy of someone else's talent or skill cloud your judgment, because you truly never, ever know when you might desperately need the help of the very person you resent. And that really just leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? We've all felt that powerful force at some point in our lives. So take a moment and think about it. When was the last time that need forced you to swallow your pride?